Here we go. I think I'm beginning to get a handle of the controls now. About time, eh? Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Winning the Game of Business Live. Now, if you've been following along with these sessions, you'll know that everything we talk about here is about helping you think smarter, act smarter, and build a more confident and way more profitable business. And today we're diving into one of the most important but least understood skills every business owner needs, and that is learning the language of business. And the language of business is numbers. And if you can't speak the language, then you might have a bit of a struggle to win the game. Far too many business owners I've found make decisions based on what's in the bank account today. Or worse, they base their decisions on how they feel. And I've lost count of how many conversations I've had that start with, Kev, I think we're doing okay. There's still a good chunk of money in the bank account. But here's the thing. Your bank balance tells you about where you've been. It doesn't tell you where you're going. And that's like trying to drive your car while you're looking in the rearview mirror. Now, here's the thing. Smart business owners know the numbers. They know the numbers inside out. They speak the language fluently, and because of that, they're able to make better, faster, more confident decisions. Let me just talk about the three levels of decision makers that I see when it comes to business owners and their financial awareness. Now, level one is the guessers level. And these are the owners that make decisions based on gut feel. They think they're profitable, but they're not sure. They rely on a great deal of luck and instinct. And sometimes it works. Most of the time, they get hurt. What I found in most cases is for guessers is that gut, in that gut feeling, stands for gave up thinking. Level two is a place where I was stuck for years, the report readers. Now, these owners get the reports from an accountant or the bookkeeper, but they don't really understand what they're looking at. And they look at the numbers once a quarter, maybe once a year, and then they carry on doing the same things. For me, I used to look at the top and the bottom number, and if those numbers were heading north, I think things are great. That lazy thinking cost me a fortune. And level three is the level which players win the game. And these are the people who know the numbers and use those numbers as a tool. They understand what drives profit in the business. And what's going to impact the cash flow in the business. And they understand what their true margins are. And they review their numbers on a regular basis so that they can spot patterns and use that information to make smarter business decisions. So let me ask you, which level are you operating at right now? And if it's one of those first two, how much is that costing you? Now, if you want to start speaking the language of business, for me, there are four numbers that will start to transform how you think and help you make much better decisions. The first one is your gross margin, how much you keep per sale after you've covered the cost of sale or the direct costs, as some people prefer to call them. Now, the second is net profit, what's really left after all the expenses are paid. And more importantly for me, is your net profit margin growing at a faster rate than your sales growth margin? Now, a tip I always give to all my clients about this number is to find out what their industry average net profit margin is, and also what are the top businesses in their industry achieving. And now they can set themselves a goal based on those numbers. You know, where do they want to be in that gap? And then have a maniacal focus on achieving that goal. This is an absolute game changer if you implement into your business. And then third is cash flow. Cash flow is the heartbeat of your business. What is it they say? Turnover is vanity, profit sanity, but cash is king. And that's so true because there are plenty of profitable businesses that go bust. And the fourth number I would urge you to start looking at is your break-even point, which is the number that tells you exactly how much you need to sell to stay alive. Now, here's the truth. When you know these four numbers, you stop hoping that you're doing okay and you start knowing when you're on or off track. I remember working with a client who told me that they couldn't afford to hire a new team member, but when we actually dug into their numbers properly, when we looked at the margins, we looked at the cash flow and where the money was going, we discovered that one of their products was an unprofitable product and it was eating up £30,000 a year. But once we fixed that, not only could they afford to hire it now, but within 6 months, the person they hired had helped them grow the turnover by another £100,000. So numbers tell stories, and if you know how to read them. So let me share with you the 3 biggest mistakes I see time and time again in business. Mistake number 1 is a biggie, and it's really, really common, and that is people confusing cash flow with profit. Because you can be profitable on paper, but you can still run out of cash. Mistake number 2 is not looking at the numbers often enough. Now, for some, that might be once a year when they have the annual visit to see their accountants. I remember actually when I asked my very first client if they could let me take a look at their last 3 years' financials. I wanted to look at the trends. And he gave me those reports in sealed envelopes. He hadn't looked at them. And the thing is, by the time your accountant tells you what's happened, it's too late to do anything about it. You can't fix history. You can't fix history. That money's gone forever. Costly mistake I made. Mistake 3 is delegating all financial responsibility. Yes, have a bookkeeper. Yes, have an accountant. But think. Understanding your own numbers, for me, is a non-negotiable. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, I'm not a numbers person, that's exactly why you need to become proficient. Now, you don't need to be able to do it to an accountant's level. You just need to understand what the numbers mean, what influences the numbers, so that you can connect your decision making to those numbers. So, what's the best approach to tackling this? For me, it's first to make sure you're getting accurate accounts. None of that guesswork. Secondly, learn the basics of financial language. Learn what gross margin means. What is it? Net margin, cash flow, break even, etc. Learn that language. And then thirdly, review your numbers at least monthly. For me, weekly is preferable. In some cases, you might want to be checking them daily. And you want to be comparing those numbers to targets, to last month, to last year. Because when you start to do this, or on a consistent basis, you'll start to notice patterns within your business. You'll begin to understand what causes a good month and what causes a bad one. And more importantly, you'll know what to do about it. Okay, let me leave you with a question. If I offered you £1 million if you doubled your profit this year, what would you start doing differently today? I'm guessing the chances are that the first thing you do is dive into your numbers to find where the opportunities and the leaks are hiding. And that's the power of understanding the language of business. It gives you more control. So here's my challenge for you today. Get a slot in the diary for when you will not try to, but you will review your numbers this week. Even if it's just your top 3 numbers, that could be sales, gross margin, and profit. Get curious about the numbers. Ask, what story are they really telling you? And remember, if you want to win the game of business, you've got to learn the language it's played in. Okay, in my next live, I'm asking a question. Are you a leadership drug dealer? Are you a leadership drug dealer? Because I don't know if you realise, every time you lead, you're triggering chemicals in people's brains. Dopamine, cortisol, serotonin, oxytocin. And these are the drugs that drive motivation. They drive fear, pride, and trust. And we're going to unpack how each one shows up, the upside and the downside, and how to balance them so that you can lead with energy and trust without burning your people out. Now, you won't want to miss it because it will change the way you think about leadership. Same time, same place, 3 p.m. UK time. Until then, make sure that you're winning the great game of business.